Today, I'll show you how to speak English fluently without thinking in your native language first. Now, as a native English speaker, I interact with people who don't speak English as a first language literally every single day. And I find it very noticeable when I can see them thinking in their native language, translating what they're trying to say into English, and then speaking. And it sounds completely unnatural. And unfortunately, this is a very common mistake among English learners at the beginner and intermediate levels of English. And this bad habit is actually what leads to you speaking very broken English. But the good news is that this bad habit can be eliminated and changed, and I will show you how. Now, first of all, in order to kill this bad habit, you need to understand profoundly why it's happening. And more importantly, why this bad habit is totally killing your fluency. Now, when you translate words in your head from your native language to the English language and vice versa, it's creating an extra processing step, which will just make you sound completely unnatural when you're communicating. By the time you've translated what you were trying to say, the momentum of the conversation has already moved on. When you do this and exercise this bad habit, it sounds like you're speaking in your native language, but just substituting the words with English words. And of course, this does not work. So, of course, to get rid of this bad habits, we're going to need to eliminate the middle part, which is translating from your native language back to the English language. Which leads to my second point, which is how fluent English speakers who don't speak English as a first language actually think in English. Simply put, fluent English speakers do not translate. They associate concepts to words, phrases, and expressions in the English language. The best way to do this is through visualization, which essentially just means associating imagery with words in English instead of translating them back into your native language. You want to associate the image of this microphone with the word microphone. You don't want to translate the word microphone back into your native language. When it comes to expressions, you want to reference an expression that you've either used yourself or that you've heard yourself in a real situation or a real experience that you went through in real life. By referencing tangible experiences and referencing imagery instead of translating words back into your native language, you are going to develop the English side of your brain and you're going to begin to progressively think more in English as a fluent English speaker. Fluent English speakers just have a direct link to English or the English side of their brain, or you could call it their other personality or their alter ego in English. And keep in mind, this is not some sort of talent that people are born with. This is a intentionally trained habit. This is a trained reflex. And it's trained through good habits, which comes through repetition. Which leads to my third point, which is the rewiring method. Using visualization, as I described earlier, is one of the different ways you can apply the rewiring method to actually directly link imagery or tangible experiences with English words or English expressions. What this does, or what any sort of rewiring method does, is it builds neural associations in your head with other things that you've really experienced, which you are much more likely to remember. If you're consuming English media and there's just this one word or this one expression that you really just can't understand, look up the definition of it in English. Do not look up the definition of it or the translation of it to your native language. Look up the definition specifically in the English language. If your brain really isn't used to doing this yet, you can start small just by thinking about the things that you're doing physically or the things that you are seeing physically. Now, applying different rewiring methods actually work best when there is English immersion. Now, to immerse yourself in English, you don't necessarily need to be in an English speaking region like New York City in America or London in England. Immersing yourself in English could be as simple as just putting your entire phone settings into the English language, or just by labeling everything around you in your head one time per day in English. And this leads to my fourth point, which are daily exercises or daily things you can actually do to start training your brain and getting into the good habit of thinking in English. A very easy way to do this is just by narrating your day. Just narrate the different actions you take. Typically, this works best when you do it aloud because you're actually practicing your pronunciation skills. But even if you just do this in your head, you're still going to help train your brain to think more and react more in English. Also, if you are really, really uncomfortable with not translating things back into your head, try to actually label every single object that you can see on a daily basis in your apartment or your house or the place that you're living. By being able to associate everything around you just with English words and being able to mentally label them in your head is really going to help you immerse yourself a bit more in English. As you start to get more in the habit of thinking or reacting first in English, then try to just have it be a reflex to react to everything in English first before reacting to it in your native language. So, for example, if you stub your toe, you can say ouch in English instead of what you may have said in your native language. Or if it's as simple as saying that something is good, you can say this is good in English instead of saying this is good in your native language. This is going to be a lot easier for those of you who already blend your language with English. I know a lot of French people do this, and I know even some Spanish speakers do it too. However, this might be a little bit more difficult if your language is very foreign, such as Mandarin Chinese or Japanese, for example. However, the principle remains the same. With everything that you know how to say in English, get in the habit of reacting or communicating in English first and then your native language second, if at all. This level of immersion is really what's going to create this new habit in your head. And you really need to try to do this with every small opportunity you get, as it will make a difference over time. And this leads to the final point, which comes down to responding faster in conversations. Now, it's usually the pressure of spontaneous, fast, real life conversations in English that expose your bad habit of translating English back into your native language. Now, when this happens, instead of having the reflex to translate, just try to find some filler words or some filler phrases that buy you a bit of time to think about your answer and collect your thoughts before expressing yourself. This could be as simple as saying, let me think about it, or that's a good point. Let me think about it. Also, it's completely normal to just say, I'm sorry, could you say that again? Or I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Even me, as a native English speaker, ask people to repeat things when I didn't clearly hear them. And I'm a native speaker. So it's completely normal to do this too if you want to buy yourself extra time to process what they are saying. And then, of course, you can practice impromptu speaking by yourself as well, simply just by asking yourself open ended questions and then practicing expressing your thoughts as if you were talking to a real human being. Just by getting repetitions of doing this, it's going to help you become a better communicator. But more importantly, it's really going to train your brain to start thinking in English first before going back to that bad habit of translating words in your head. So you're definitely going to see results at least every single month if you can do these small habits every single day consistently. And you will ultimately be able to speak English fluently without thinking in your native language first. Now, if you got any value from this video at all, be sure to like it. It helps us more than you know. And leave a comment down below telling me where in the world you're from and what your native language is. I'm always very curious to know. And I'll see you in the next one.